I always tell people color in the picture. When you have goals, color it in because it makes it more real. It's almost when I say like you need to humanize your goal because then it's
More
more
realistic.
and it's more difficult to disappoint it.
Welcome to another episode of Frankly Speaking, where we tackle topics about managing your money and investing with a no jargon approach. My name is Kgomotso Jafta, Junior Marketing Manager at Franc, which is an investment app that makes investing easy and accessible for everyone. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so right now and give this video a thumbs up if you find it useful. So today's topic, which is really exciting, is about setting financial goals in 2024. So grab out your journals. We're not just going to be talking about the importance of setting goals, but also building good habits to help you stick to them in the long term. In studio today, we have Aron Samuels, who is a professional financial planner, a personal finance creator, and a speaker who founded the Wealth Coach to help young professionals make smart financial decisions. Hi there, Aron. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks. It's really great having you here. I hope I didn't miss anything in your bio because that was quite a mouthful.
That was quite a lengthy bio. As you were saying that, I was listening and like, geez, I'm quite busy by the sounds of it. But no, you didn't miss anything.
Okay, cool, great. So let's get right into it. Tell us, what are financial goals and why are they important?
Yeah, financial goals, I mean, we have a lot of goals in life, and obviously your financial goals are the ones that have a money aspect to them, and that's quite a lot of them. So regardless of what we're trying to do or what we're planning to do, money usually plays a role. It's always involved somewhere, somehow. So yeah, I would say my definition of a financial goal would be something that you're looking to achieve with your money, be that either accumulating in the case of saving or investing. When it comes to debt, you're looking to make that less. So yeah, goals around money that involve managing your money and basically telling your money where to go.
Cool. Now I actually just want to know about you.
Yeah,
what are you saving towards in 2024?
Okay, yeah. So I've got some plans over the next year or two. I'm saving up for a deposit on a big purchase or two. So I would say that's my more short kind of medium-term goals. And then obviously the longer-term goal, which is always there, which is something that's quite important for me, is retirement. As young as I am, retirement is obviously something we need to start thinking about. I would say as soon as you get your first paycheck. So that's like a constant goal for me. A longer-term goal is making sure that I'm putting away something for my retirement.
Cool, because my next question was actually for you to differentiate between short-term and long-term goals, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe could you give us more practical examples?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you think of it in terms of a timeline, my approach is usually that your short-term goals are, call it between 0 and 2 years. That's what I would term as short-term. And then you have more of your medium term, if you will, that's about between 2 and 5 years. And anything longer than 5 years or 7 years plus into retirement, I would categorize that as a more long-term goal. And obviously, the goal is the end destination, so your journey is going to look different. And when it comes to saving and investing, it's about making sure you have the right vehicle for whatever journey you're taking. Are you going around the corner, or are you going 5,000 kilometers from here? So that's basically how I see goals as an end point, and you're on a journey, and it's about how best to get to that end goal.
I love that you mentioned the how part, because as people, we often plan, and it ends up there, unfortunately. Like, how many times have you heard of people planning trips to go overseas, or even just traveling locally with friends? They chat on WhatsApp, and it ends up in the WhatsApp
it
group.
never makes it out of the group. And I think that's one of the and I think that's why it's so important that to realize also that there's so much more to it than just the goal setting and the planning, but it's actually about getting into the nitty gritty and doing those little things that actually gets you to that point. Otherwise, it's a year or 2 or 3 later and you're looking back and you haven't actually done any of those things that you've had on your wish list, or you've left multiple WhatsApp groups already because just haven't
You're dragging me.
yeah, no, it happens. So, and a lot of the time it happens because either there isn't planning, or there isn't commitment, or the plans aren't realistic. You're trying to do something that's going to cost you 30,000 rand, and you want to do it next week or in a month from now, and everyone, or you're excited about this big idea, but you haven't really broken it down. Or it's when you actually break it down when you realize that this thing's not going to happen. This thing is based on WhatsApp and not actually
and it's not
in reality.
Anyway, 100%. Which is why I also want us to touch on the how, right? How do we plan to achieve these goals? There's so many like frameworks and styles and methods. And the most popular one that we know is the SMART method, which stands for what? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic and time bound. Yes. So do you have any other like techniques that you could share with us on how we can actually achieve our goals?
Yeah, so I like the SMART method because it gives you a nice framework to get you started, because like I mentioned earlier, the time thing and the realistic thing sometimes can be a bit of a challenge. So I'm a fan of reverse engineering things. So my approach is usually to look at where am I looking to go, and then I basically rewind it and say so before I get there, what's the next smallest thing that needs to happen. So to make it a bit more practical, if I'm trying to go on holiday next year, or I need a deposit for a car next year, you need to look at when you actually want it, and you need to get into detail and know your numbers. Know how much you're actually going to need. Do quite a bit of research on that. And I always tell people, color in the picture. When you have goals, color it in, because it makes it more real. It's almost when I say like you need to humanize your goal, because then it's more and it's more difficult to disappoint it. So if you can color in your picture, instead of just saying you want to buy a car, you want to go on holiday, what car, which dealership are you buying it at, what's the color, how much is it, get into the nitty. If you're going on holiday, not just I'm going to wherever, to Italy, which city are you going, which airline are you using, where are you staying, which coffee shops, which restaurants are you going to. Make it real, actually have it there, because then it becomes so much more difficult, almost when I say to give up on it or to lose motivation along the way, because you have this fully colored in picture.
You basically tie yourself down to it. Because you've gone in so much detail. You
almost need to bond with it, and it's the whole present self and future self thing, and you kind of need to bring them a bit closer together. But once you've done a bit of the nitty-gritty around the money specifically, you need to have that X amount. You need to know what it is, and then you need to start dividing it up. Is it months? Is it weeks? Is it days? And once you've done that, now you need to ask yourself, is this realistic? If you look at the last 6 months in your life, what does your cash flow look like? If you're saying you're going to need to save an extra 2,000 or 3,000 rand now going forward for this, have you been able to do that in the past? If you have, you could probably continue doing it. If you have never done that before, and you're telling yourself, well, from next month on I'm going to start doing this, then you need to ask yourself, well, how realistic is that? Because whenever the money we're looking to save is currently going elsewhere, it's not it doesn't fall from the sky. I've tried. It doesn't work. So it's coming out of what you're currently doing. So if you're looking to save 2,000 rand extra from next month on, where's that 2,000 rand been going? Because it needs to stop going there now. So now you need to sacrifice something. And that's an interesting conversation I have with people, because they don't know where it's been going. So that's a whole different podcast. But so now you need to sacrifice wherever that, call it 2,000 rand's been going. If it's been going to, you don't know, you're going to have to sacrifice that and look at that situation. If it's been going to takeaways or too many weekends out, you're going to have to sacrifice that. If you're overspending on clothes or to whatever it is, you need to decide, and you don't have to. You can keep doing your thing, but you've decided that that goal is important for you. And general principle in life, we need to sacrifice for the things that's important to us. So if I say it's important for me, does my bank statement show it?
I think a lot of young people feel so dragged right now, especially with the bank statement thing. We honestly don't know where our money is going. Like, we're just spending like it's crazy. And unfortunately, like, the economy is not in our favor, right? But I just wanted to touch on something else that you mentioned about, like, setting amounts and, you know, timelines and that sort of thing. And I feel like the Franc app is really, really great for something like that, right?
100%.
Because you're able to sign up, set up a goal literally in 2 minutes. It gives you the option of choosing the timelines, and then lastly, it suggests the best strategy for you, rather. So I think it's something that people could use to their advantage when they start setting their goals.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. I actually had a conversation recently with a friend, and we were doing the dreaming thing, not quite the WhatsApp group yet, but about going overseas in the next year or something, and just doing a few quick quotes and stuff, and getting to an amount like 40 or 50,000 or something, and I'm like saying, listen, we can do this in about 3 years' time, man. And And then he's like, I was thinking next year. And then, so I'm in the fortunate or unfortunate position that I work with numbers and these type of calculations every day. So intuitively, I knew it's not going to happen. But then I could use a calculator. And I could take that amount and I could say, if we're going next year, this is how much we need to save.
Yes.
And I sent that to him, and the conversation died there. I quick did. So that, like on the Franc app, where again, sometimes that's what you need. You need to see what the actual numbers look like, because sometimes it's a pie in the sky thing. But using the app, straightforward, putting your amounts, putting in your timelines, and that gives you an idea. And then a lot of times what it allows you to do is for you personally to then adjust your goals. So either the amount you're going to need, maybe downscale your plans a bit, or you push your plans out a few months or a year or two.
Yes.
And then it possibly becomes a bit more manageable. But seeing those numbers in front of you is what one actually needs. That almost a bit of a reality check. Otherwise, I find that saving for just saving's sake, and you're telling yourself, I'm saving for this thing, and you're doing whatever amount, and halfway through you're just like, but there's nothing to really tie to, there's nothing tangible. But if you know what your number is 500 Rand a month or 1,000 Rand a month, that's something that you're tied to, that's something you're committed to. If you're just doing it for doing sake, again, it's so much easier to just drop off halfway.
I love that you also mentioned about, dropping off halfway, right? Because the next other important component is motivation and commitment, right? Which is often the driver that helps you stay committed to your goal. So are there any tips that you could share with our audience, maybe 2 or 3 tips on how we can actually stay motivated and committed to our goals throughout the year?
Just believe in yourself.
Please.
So, if only it was that easy. Okay, that's, joking aside, that is important as well. But I think, and I'm going to answer this in a long-winded way, kind of, but what I find a lot of people I've spoken to before, they have goals, and they believe it's their goals. But a lot of the time, some of the things we want, especially material things, things we're saving up for, things we're looking to buy, we don't always investigate or have a conversation with ourselves as to why we actually want these things.
Okay.
A lot of the times there's outside influences, there's pressure from outside in our circle, in our family or whatever, and I've now convinced myself that I knew this and I'm working towards this. And what happens is somewhere along the line, on a psychological point, you start to realize that this maybe isn't actually even what I want. And that is a lot of times where people start to fail, will start to fall off because you're working towards something you told yourself was for yourself, but it's not actually.
You've been influenced, basically.
You've been influenced or pressurized,
Yes.
and sometimes you want to live up to expectations, and those expectations aren't always within our means, and that makes it difficult. But yeah, staying motivated, I would say, especially if it's a longer term goal, if it's something that's only happening in a few years' time, you need to reward yourself along the way. You need to have certain checkpoints along the way as well. We're human beings. That's how mind works. We want that positive reinforcement and reward. We want that gratification. So if you're saving for something on the longer term, you need to say to yourself, listen, I've calculated on the app, this is how much I need to save. Once I've done that 6 months in a row, I'm giving myself a reward, and you can decide for yourself what that is. But you need to give yourself a pat on the back along the way. Again, making that picture clear, coloring in the picture, that helps you stay motivated as well. Because now it's not just I'm going to Italy in 2 years, it's I'm going to this hotel, it's I'm visiting that, it's I'm going there, I'm going with so and so. These are my dates more or less. So making it a bit more real, coloring in the picture, reward yourself along the way, and then as far as you can, share your mission with the people around you, if I can put it that way, and have people keep you accountable as well. You know, it's awkward if you've told people about something and then like 2 months later you don't do it. So sometimes you need to like kind of put that bit of pressure on yourself. Yeah, that shouldn't be the only reason why you keep at it, but it can help to keep you motivated.
You also...
Was that 2 or 3 tips?
I think it was like 50.
Okay. Overachieving.
No, but thank you for the really, really great tips. I think you gave us about 4 or 5.
Okay.
Those were gems. I wanted to touch on the checkpoints part, right? I think you're mentioning something that's very important. Like, we need to track our progress. We need to reflect at times, to also just keep it realistic and to keep ourselves accountable. But what are some of the other support systems that people can look into, and how can they like influence and impact us?
Yeah, I mean, if you get to a point where you want to consult with someone, so be it a financial planner, for example, that can be useful as well, because number one, you'll get support in terms of numbers and tracking that. Number two, you'll get the human support and accountability as well. If you're working with a planner or a coach or someone that specializes in that type of thing, it can be useful just to help to keep you accountable, because it's like I always make the comparison with, there's a lot of overlap between fitness and money. And it's like when you go to gym alone versus when you go with a gym buddy, or when you're paying for a personal trainer or not. If you're paying for a personal trainer, you're gonna show up. If you know someone's waiting for you outside in the car, someone's meeting you in the parking at gym, you're gonna go.
Yes, true.
Because that morning that you've told yourself that it's not happening, but you get the message and so-and-so's waiting for you, you're going to move. So sometimes having an accountability partner can play that type of role, where if you weren't planning on doing it, or it's a moment of weakness, you don't want to disappoint so-and-so, so you end up doing it. So we need to find ways when it comes to money to almost hack ourselves. And when it comes to saving and when it comes to debt, I always tell people it's good to know yourself, because some of us in our personalities and habits, we almost need to hide money from ourselves. So if you've set out X amount to save or to go into your savings at the end of the month, you need to keep that money separate, because if you know that you are that person who's going to be transferring between your savings account and your normal account, you need to keep it separate. And that's why Franc app is so cool, because it's totally separate from your day-to-day money. That alone makes a difference. Here's another tip. That's number 6. I'm counting. So having
Are you sure it's not 51?
So having it separate, that alone makes a massive difference. Because imagine you're saving and have a nice amount, and you're on your banking app and you scroll to that account at the bottom and you see this nice amount there, and it's the middle of the month and you're probably fine, but now you're looking at this amount in your bank, and then you just dip in. Having it separate and almost creating barriers for yourself, make it difficult for yourself to not stick to the plan. Yeah.
I also wanted to ask about a third resource, right?
Yeah.
Which is a robo-advisor.
Yes.
I mean, already you've touched on Franc, and Franc has or is a robo-advisor.
Yeah.
Maybe could you go into more detail about the benefits of that? Because not everyone can afford a financial coach or a financial advisor, right? And also it differs with the different stages where you're at in terms of your finances. So maybe you could just tell us more about like the benefits of a robo-advisor.
Yeah, like you mentioned, not everyone right now is at the place one where they need full-on financial planning from a financial planner, or can afford it, or usually when your situation isn't as complex yet, robo-advice works great, because it's 2, 3, 4 inputs and you get your output. So especially if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're new to investing, it's something that you want to get into. There's such a lot of noise out there. You don't know what you can trust. You don't know how to go about it.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, no, it is. And again, for that reason, people end up putting it off. And it's that I'll do it next year thing. And then it's been 3 years and you haven't gotten there yet. So using a robo-advisor like Franc works because it keeps it simple. It's no jargon, and it's intuitive. The interface, how you input your information, doesn't require a lot. So you don't need to know different investment terms and asset allocation and volatility and all kinds of things. It's straightforward. Who are you? What are you trying to do? This is something that will suit you. And I mean, that's all you're looking for at the end of the day. You want to start putting money away, but the number one question one of the top questions I get always is, but where do I put my money? So that robo-advisor really does help you to answer that. And obviously with the resources, information that come with it, you're able to upskill yourself as well in the process, which I think is important. You don't just want to blindly be doing something. You want to be learning 100%. Throughout the process as well.
One more thing. I would love for you to share like a success story, to keep our audience motivated. I mean, to also help them get started. Literally, it could be anything that could give us that oomph,
Yeah, I mean, I've seen and dealt with individuals over the past few years that have really like I give them a pat on the back and I'm like, well done. Previously I used to deal with students quite a lot, or people within their first year or two in work, and I was actually thinking about one person that I had a chat with, and he just finished starting work, and for years he was on a mission about getting braces. And I did not know it's that expensive. But it's expensive if you don't have medical aid. And he was on a mission, and he wasn't earning much at the time, but he literally just put his head down. And I think the moral of his story was you need to say no to other stuff to say yes for your goal. And again, that sacrificing, and he ended up saving up. And he's now super happy with his, I think he still has his braces in. I mean, there's a lot of other stories of people saving up and paying off their debt, student debt, in addition to what the usual payments are. And it's some of these goals are like, it's really like personal, it's like hit close to home type of things. And I think that's where people find the most successes, when it's stuff that's like really personal to them, because it just makes that level of commitment so much deeper. It's not just a willy-nilly type of goal, like whatever. You really get that buy-in. So it can be done. I always say this, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yes, that's a good line.
And using the app makes it even simpler, but it doesn't necessarily make it easier. The sacrifice still needs to come from the individual, and we shouldn't fool ourselves into thinking that there won't be sacrifice involved. The money has to come from somewhere. It's currently going elsewhere. You need to take away from one point and put it to where you want it to go. And on that bright note.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I think you've given us like so many gems that we could actually apply into our own lives. So yeah, thanks Aron for joining us.
Thanks again for having me. It was good chatting.
And just to wrap up, we've touched on the definition and importance of financial goals, the differentiation between short-term and long-term goals, how they can be achieved, the motivation and commitment needed, and lastly, the different types of resources that could benefit you in your current financial circumstances. If you enjoyed this episode, please do give it a thumbs up. If you have any other topics you'd love for us to discuss, just comment down below. We've also got a really great article all about why and how you can set your financial goals on our Frankly Speaking blog, which we'll link out in the description box below. Until next time, bye!